The latest news of that.
Right, well, let's hope that resolves itself as soon as possible. You know, one of the most coveted pieces of machinery to have on your drive or in your garage is a Porsche. But you can still only do 70 miles an hour on most of the streets in Great Britain. But some of the fastest in the country have been competing here today in the Loctite Porsche race. And what a battle that turned out to be.
9 to 8, they all move away, and it's Mike Jordan who makes the best start. But Nick Wenham going ahead. Nick Wenham storms ahead and goes in to take a very close line, and it's Wenham who has that lead, although Mike Jordan is challenging. It's Wenham from Jordan as they go into the Pie Chicane for the first of 10 laps. These tail-heavy Porsches hanging their tails out. Nick Wenham leads, and a lot of chiseling and battling for position as they come down into the Pie Chicane. That's the rest of the field, but Wenham has the lead. It's Jordan in second place. Keith Russell has made a good start and is moving up into third place, with Tony Drawn fourth.
Let's not forget that Tony Drawn happens to be in a front-engine car, a 928S, which is the latest of the Porsche breed, if you like to say. Much heavier car than the rest, a V8 5-litre, a very nice little car. It's a lightweight. It's called the Club Sport, basically. But as you can see, they've got it nearer the front every race. It's right up there with them at the moment. Whether it stays there's another factor.
Well, that's Wenham, number 5, the leader, with Mike Jordan, the reigning champion, right on his tail. Wenham very, very close to the barrier there. And Tony Drawn in fourth place. You can see the quite differently whale-shaped 928, and Jordan makes a challenge. Jordan goes ahead as they go into Loctite turn. Appropriately enough, a big sideways moment for Jordan. He corrects it. So Mike Jordan, now the leader as we go into the Bromsgrove Street section on this first of 10 laps. Mike Jordan, the leader. Nick Wenham in second place. Still Keith Russell, who started on the third row of the grid, in an excellent third place. Tony Drawn is fourth. That's the leading quartet.
And Dickie Atwood is there somewhere. Let's not forget him. Dickie is here as a guest driver this weekend in place of Tiffany Dell, who's racing in Japan. He's in a 944, and of course Dickie won Le Mans back in 1971, and in fact came second at Monte Carlo in the Monaco Grand Prix some time ago. So Dickie's a very experienced campaigner out there.
And he started from the third row of the grid, but Keith Russell was able to make an excellent start from his third row grid position, because there was a gap in front of him where Chris Millard should have been. Millard is Nick Wenham's teammate, but it's Wenham in second place, and he is fighting back. He doesn't like Mike Jordan having the lead, and Wenham having a look at the outside as they come into Halford's corner for the second time. He can't do it now. He nudges back onto the inside, but Mike Jordan seems to have the matter nicely sewn up, and I think that little effort lost Nick Wenham a little bit of time. But now Wenham looks at the other side, and they're almost side by side as they come down Belgrave Middleway. On the outside of the approach to Ferodo, it's Wenham, but the door is firmly shut by Mike Jordan.
I think he did a very good job there. I think it's a very brave move, because these cars are very difficult to outbrake somebody, because, you know, with all that weight at the back, you incline very easily to lock the front brakes up. So you've got to be very wary. But again, they're alongside one another, as in fact they are in third and fourth place.
Yes, he tried to do to Jordan what Jordan did to him on the previous lap going into Loctite turn. He didn't just quite have enough grunt. There was a battle behind them for third place. That's between Russell and Drawn. But look at those sideways opposite lock slides, and Drawn is up to third place. Tony Drawn's gone ahead of Chris Millard. So this big, heavy 928, as Derek says, quite different handling characteristics. Which would you rather be driving around the streets of
Well, actually, I'd rather drive a 911, I must admit, because you can tip them about a bit easier. The 920 is a much smoother, much more beautiful car to drive, but I think on the limit, the 911 is probably somewhat easier in competition.
Well, Tony Drawn has, of course, a lot more power, but a lot more weight in the 928. But nothing like the long sideways slides that Keith Russell in the yellow car behind him is indulging in. And as they get onto the long straight going up Peter Barwell Hill, can Tony Drawn's extra power pull him away? It doesn't look like it, because Keith Russell is right there with him. Still Jordan leading, still Wenham second, but this is the battle for third place. And on the brakes they go over that bump.
Let's not forget also that Tony Drawn has ABS, anti-lock brakes on that 928, which of course the 911s do not have. and it means that he can brake much more positively over on these bumpy corners or bumpy entrances to corners that he's having to take over.
Well, Jordan has a little bit more air between himself and Wenham in second place, but here's the third place battle once more. Tony Dron, the motoring journalist, and a man with a lot of racing experience over the years. He was made a very professional single-seater effort at Formula 4 a long, long time ago. And you can see in the lead, Mike Jordan still, Nick Wenham following him through, and this time Dron is clear of Keith Russell. There's Keith Russell, and everybody looking a little bit tidier now as the race settles down. Not quite the lurid styles. In fact, the lurid slide that time seemed to come from Tony Dron. But this is Mike Jordan, the reigning champion in this class of racing, in his beautifully turned out 911. And on his tail, Nick Wenham. Wenham, if anything, falling back as they go down the long straight. There's Tony Dron in third place. There is Russell in fourth place, and then quite a gap before we get the pursuit with Dickie Attwood there, I think, in sixth place. So Richard Attwood, in fact, Dickie Attwood having a go. You just saw him going out of the picture there. Dickie Attwood making a challenge to move up into fifth place, and he's done it. That's Dickie Attwood in the turbocharged 944 with the bands across the bonnet, and he has moved ahead of one of the 911s. So Attwood now leading a little bit. In fact, he's gone ahead of Mike Burt, who is in the 911 right on his tail. Now, that's a very stable handling car, the 944 Turbo, isn't it, Derek?
Yes, it's very stable. Again, it's rather like the 928S. Almost too stable for the sort of racing that they're doing. It's a perfect road car, but of course it is such a good handling car that you can't actually throw it around the way you'd like to. A 911, you have to drive a 911 all the time. You have to be on top of it, you have to attack it. If you attack it, you drive it very quickly, and that, of course, that's what the two gentlemen at the front are doing.
And Richard Attwood with this tremendous experience. We've got a fastest lap for Wenham, so Nick Wenham in second place, pursuing Mike Jordan still, has set the fastest lap of the race so far. Richard Attwood, though, look how smooth he looks. This is a man with a Formula 1 BRM career. He was second in the Monaco Grand Prix in the 60s. He was the Le Mans winner, as Derek says, in 1970 in one of the big 917 Porsches. A little bit of a twitch there, though, coming through the very tight zenith bend. And there's the battle, and I think Wenham's a little bit closer. That fastest lap must have helped him a little bit. Nick Wenham in second place certainly hasn't given up in his pursuit. We're now on the fifth lap as they go into Bolly Slip Corner, and quite a tight line there from Wenham. He seems to have plenty of road. Tony Dron having a sideways moment, but Mike Jordan still with a little bit of a lead. It's 0.8 of a second on the stopwatch. 4/5 of a second gap between these two men as they go up Peter Barwell Hill and into Halford's Corner.
Yeah, and in fact, Nick Wenham is coming right up on Mike Jordan coming up the hill. He seems much neater, but he seems to, in fact, not use as much of the road. I think if he was to extend himself just a little bit more, he's gone out very wide around Halford. You see, he lost a lot of time there. He doesn't seem to be so consistent as Mike Jordan is in front, and I think that's to his detriment.
So it's 911s battling for the lead. It's a 928S in third place. It's a 944 Turbo in fifth place. That's Dickie Attwood's car. Once more, Nick Wenham gets very close indeed at Ferodo Corner. They go on down Sherlock Street. This is the 5th of 10 laps. There's Tony Dron in third place, and Tony Dron all on his own on third place. He's dropped the pursuit, and now Jordan taking a tight line.
No, he was taking a tight line, but of course what the other lad wasn't about to let him go around the outside of him, and he made, if you want to overtake me, boy, you're going to have to go around the long way, and that's not a very nice way in a 911.
Zenith Bend, down Bromsgrove Street. Nick Wenham working and working. Meanwhile,
I think you'll notice Tony Dron really is catching them up quite well, because, of course, the lead of Wenham and Jordan that are in front are having a bit of a dice. It's giving Tony Dron that chance to catch up a little bit of time on them. I don't know what the difference is right now. It's 3.75 seconds to the leader. Well, that isn't very much at all.
Yes, so Tony Dron with the halfway point just completed there. Number 5 is Nick Wenham in second place. And behind these two, Tony Dron in third place in the 928 is closing. That's the Pie chicane. out of the Pie chicane, on up Pete Barwell Hill. Mike Jordan, the leader. Nick Wenham in second place. And they're as close as ever they were as they come into the Halfords corner. Still Russell in fourth place, but well back, and Dickie Atwood still fifth and closing on Russell. Oh, very close to the barrier there for Mike Jordan. He's using every inch of the road. Very impressive, hard-trying drive by Jordan. And once more, Nick Wenham makes his challenge.
Yes, he seems to have a real move going down this hill here, and of course he knows he has to keep to the outside to get the line right for the right-hander at the bottom. So there's not really an overtaking place there, as you'll notice when you drive around it.
That's Ferodo corner, down Sherlock Street. They're flat out down there, and Tony Dron is definitely visibly closer. Once more, Nick Wenham has a look at the outside. Jordan moves across, flings that car, chucks it into the left-hander.
See, Jordan isn't allowing Wenham to come down the inside. He's holding the inside line, makes Wenham go for the outside lane, then chops across to get his outside line, which of course really confuses Nick Wenham behind him. But of course it's holding him off, and that's what he wants.
And we've got a fastest lap for Chris Millard. Chris Millard, who's not running in the top 6 at the moment. He did it on lap 2, according to the timing gear here, but he is now out of the running. We're now on the 7th of 10 laps. So now Mike Jordan takes the long line. Once again, Nick Wenham a little bit tighter, but it doesn't seem to do him any good. He doesn't seem to be able to get any closer at all. The man who's getting closer is Tony Dron in third place, who's whittling away at the gap from himself in third place up to this leading battle.
Yes, you notice how close Nick Wenham is right now. He's pulling out, but you see it's not the ideal place to go by, because he's got to go round, I believe it is, the outside to do anything here, and that's not easy. Now, if he can sweep inside Mike Jordan here, get tucked, but he's not, you see, he's letting it drift out too much. He's got to be inside him. He's sideways, but he's got to be inside him, coming round that Halfords turn, get the power down, get the traction, and come out, so he's close to him down the hill, but he's not doing that. He's letting it wash out.
And in fact, he had a big sideways moment, didn't he, out of Halfords that time. Once more, he's very quick down Belgrave Middleway, closes up a little bit. You can see the gap to Tony Dron back in third place there. Here comes Tony Dron now into Ferodo corner in the big 928. Long, fast, sweet, little bit of opposite lock. Very impressive line from Tony Dron. And into the barriers goes, that's one of the... Is that Wenham's car, or is that Millard?
Two.
No, that must be Chris Millard, who's tangled with one of the other runners. And we've got yellow flags there with Millard's car well and truly into the tyres. And there's the lead once more. There is Millard's teammate, Nick Wenham, in second place. The identically painted number 4 car of Chris Millard buried into the barriers. And still Wenham on his way. Headlights on now for Jordan. They're on their 8th of 10 laps. This is where the yellow flags are, because that's where Millard went off, and Millard's car still parked among the bundles of tyres which are used to protect some of the most exposed bits of Armco barrier. There's a back marker to be lapped, and he keeps neatly out of the way. That's not going to affect matters at all, I don't think, because both the leaders are able to go neatly round him as they come over that bump in the braking area into Halfords corner.
Well, let's just see how tight Nick Wenham can keep it. Again, he's drifted out wide, you see. He's got to keep it in to get the power on the road to stop it drifting out, and he's not doing that. But he's a bit closer to Mike going down the hill here. But, of course, there is a kink on this straight, as you can see. And now you'll see Jordan pull back across the right-hand side. Oh, he's not going to be able to.
No, Wenham's really making an attack now. They're side by side as they go into Ferodo corner. But Wenham's on the outside. He goes very wide. He slides. He hangs the tail out. Jordan keeps the lead. Jordan very much neater. The gap at the moment, 0.9 of a second, or it was when they last passed the start-finish straight, but it's a lot less than that now. But once more, Jordan keeps on the inside line as they come into Loctite turn. A locked wheel from Nick Wenham, a little puff of smoke from one of his front tyres as he hit the brakes very hard, very late. That's Zenith Bend. Still this battle going on. Tony Dron not apparently now able to make much effect on it. He's still 8 seconds behind. with Keith Russell still fourth, Dickie Atwood fifth in the 9.44, and Mike Burt in sixth place a long way back. So all the excitement for this battle for the front. We're now on the penultimate lap. This is lap 9 of 10 into Molly Slip Corner once more, and now it looks as though Wenham is not as close as he was, but my goodness, they went very close to those tyres.
Yes, it is. It does put you off, particularly when it's your teammate that's stuffed in the fence. It does slow you down a bit through there. But it'll be interesting to see how he gets on up the hill. He always seems to catch on and make up quite a lot of time up to Halford's hairpin, and I think that's very important.
Yes, there's about a length in it, and watch how they close up under braking. There's the bump as they come, and then find that there's a bump in the braking area just there. They almost seem to be going over a cliff. He takes a very wide entry. Now he's trying to stay in tight.
Now he's staying in tight, but again, he didn't stay in tight long enough. He's got an over-anxious right foot, which of course lets it drift out too soon because he's giving it too much gas coming out.
And Mike Jordan driving very smoothly, very defensively. Look how he's protecting the entry to the next corner because it's a right-hander, and there's nothing that they can do. There's nothing that Wenham can do, I should say. Jordan's snaking a little bit under braking, but about a length in it as they go down Sherlock Street. Remember, this is the penultimate lap, lap 9 of 10. And now Wenham makes an effort. Wenham tries to come all the way down the outside. Can he leave his braking late? They're almost wheel to wheel.
But of course, he does get a better line to the corner, Nick Wenham. It's a much better line to the corner, but he can't use it to advantage.
So that's Zenith Bend. They now come down Bromsgrove Street to Shell Turn, which has a right-hand entry before a left-hand exit.
It's not somewhere you can overtake somebody because you sweep from the right to the left, you see. It's very difficult.
And very tidy still, Mike Jordan. Very impressive. He's under a lot of pressure, but he doesn't seem to be pushed into any mistakes by Nick Wenham. They start their final lap. This is the last lap into Molly Slip Corner, and it's now that Nick Wenham's going to have to make that effort.
Ooh, he really got it sideways going through there, Nick Wenham did. It's going to be very interesting just to see if he can handle it. I think he's sussed out how he's got to get round the Halford's corner. It's whether he can just stay close enough to our braking, but there aren't that many good braking positions on this circuit.
But he's using his power, isn't he, as they go up Pete Barwell Hill. The front wheels of Wenham level with the rear wheels of Jordan, and they're almost door handle to door handle on the brakes. This is the final lap. They touch, they briefly touch, and that pushes Wenham very, very wide indeed.
But it just wasn't the place to do it, you see. That's experience rearing its ugly head again. I mean, that wasn't the place. I'd have sat right behind him and got him coming down here now.
Well, he's fighting back. This is Belgrave middle way for the last time. They're coming down to Ferodo. Now Wenham has a look at the inside. Jordan shuts the door. Wenham looks at the outside. Jordan's there as well. On the brakes into Ferodo corner, third gear, and Wenham almost gets it completely sideways. And now he's tucked in the slipstream as they go down Sherlock Street. There's Loctite turn ahead, third corner, and third gear corner. He's having a go now. He's coming up alongside.
He's coming alongside. I just don't think he's got enough headway. He just can't get alongside him. And that's what he needs, to sort of let them side by side, two abreast. Now we'll see just what we can do now into the next turn.
Yeah, that's Zenith Bend. And now all they've got left is Shell Turn. That difficult right then left before they have the run down to the finish line, and Wenham really trying one side then the other on the brakes for Shell Corner, clinging to that apex. Jordan is still in front, the checkered flag is waiting, and Mike Jordan comes storming down to win by a whisker from Nick Wenham. Mike Jordan raises a triumphant arm out of the window. Mike Jordan is the winner. Nick Wenham finishes second after a tremendous effort. Tony Dron comes home in third place. In fourth place, it's Keith Russell. And we wait now for Dickie Atwood, who comes through now to finish fifth, all on his own. Fifth place for Dickie Atwood, third place for Tony Dron. Those are the two Works Porsche entries. But the winner, after all that effort, Mike Jordan, a wonderful battle with Nick Wenham.
Yes, and I don't think we should forget that these lads drive most of their cars home after these meetings.
Well, I wonder if there are any little bits of paint retouching that might be necessary on Monday morning before they go to the office.
There most certainly will be on Jordan and Wenham's car, but it was a very good race, and I think it's great to see club racing so clean, if you like to say, at this level. But they're very inexperienced drivers, really, the majority of them. Fine race.
And there the result, the official result. First, Mike Jordan. Second, Nick Wenham by barely half a second. Tony Dron is third in the 928. In fourth place, it's Keith Russell. Dickie Atwood, the veteran of Formula One, is fifth. And in sixth place,